Okay, there are 3 gravestones that people come into Greyfriars to have a look at mainly, but by far and away there's a lot more going on here. This is a good one to deal with at the start. This is the most famous in the churchyard. This is the grave, perhaps, of Greyfriars Bobby. And the story about Greyfriars Bobby, it really depends on which account you believe. So Greyfriars Bobby was a Skye Terrier who was owned by a man called John Gray, who's buried down next to those 2 sort of picnic table gravestones just down there, table graves. We'll have a look at them in a minute. And the story is that Greyfriars Bobby was a Skye Terrier. His master died in February 1864. Yeah, 1864, and his dog wanted to spend time next to his master's grave. Now, the man who used to work in what's now Bobby's Bothy was the sexton of the burial ground, and his name was James Brown. Not the godfather of soul. Right? Thank you for laughing at that. You're not supposed to have dogs in a burial ground. In fact, it's only in the last couple of years that they removed a sign that sat there that said no dogs in here. So the story was that James Brown felt sorry for Bobby and allowed the little dog to stay. And the dog spent in total 14 years out of his 16 years on the planet living next to his master's grave. Now that creates a few problems. A few years ago, a man looked at the science behind this and the eyewitness accounts and came to the conclusion that 16 years is a long time for a little dog to live. And that perhaps there's only one thing that is cuter than a Skye Terrier. You ready for this? The only thing that's cuter than a Skye Terrier, and even then I have to say, there is a debate as to which kind of dog he is. A few years ago somebody said it might be a Dandy Dinman. Please watch yourself there, madam.
Oh, sorry.
So there you go. So there's a Skye Terrier. Ta-da! Fairly cute wee dog. This amateur historian and very keen forensic scientist came to conclude... Oh, James, I'm throwing out the words here. Sorry. There we go. Came to the conclusion that the only thing that's cuter than a Skye Terrier is 2 Skye Terriers. And that perhaps there was a Greyfriars Bobby double that carried on the family trade. So what's the story about Bobby? His master dies, and Bobby's kind of taken care of by various people, but according to all the stories, he tends to stay next to his master's grave. Now, an American lady called Eleanor Atkinson came along, wrote a story about this, and kind of gave it the brave-hearted version of Scottish history, which basically said that he stayed next to his master's grave. He ended up going to, do you see those buildings just next to where the White Sacks are? Yeah. On the other side, that's now Alanda's coffee shop, ice cream shop, and Bobby's coffee shop. On the other side of that, it used to be John Trail's Temperance Coffee House, and Bobby used to go and get fed by the Trails, and he would do this every day after the 1 o'clock gun, which nowadays fires out from the north of the castle, used to fire from the south of the castle. And Colour Sergeant Scott, who was one of the guys who looked after Bobby, used to live on Candlemaker Road, which is the street behind us. And he taught Bobby that when the 1 o'clock gun went bang, Bobby could go away and get some food. Somebody said, and I don't believe this for a moment, that Queen Victoria, as a dog lover, stood next to where we are to see the wee dog going past. But if you believe that the most photographed woman on the planet with a couple of big heavies stood here watching a wee dog, I very much doubt that. There's a few interesting things about this. William Chambers, and his statue sits on Chambers Street in front of the Museum of Scotland, bought citizenship of Edinburgh for Greyfriars Bobby when a court case went through basically suggesting that Greyfriars Bobby was being looked after by the Trails, but they hadn't paid their tax. So what we've now got are a few things that might annoy anybody who's really interested in human rights, because there's 2 statues to Greyfriars Bobby, this one and the more famous one which sits outside. Don't rub his nose, please.
I said that to him. I actually did say that to you, didn't I? I've said it all along.
It's a bit of a sort of tourist talking. Go on eBay and look at the pictures of the Greyfriars for more than 20 years.
Absolutely.
So that one's set up outside. There's this one in here. That's more statues that we have to Greyfriars Bobby than we have to women in Edinburgh other than Mary Queen of Scots and Queen Victoria. And also, just to really annoy the ladies, is some people have argued that technically because he was made a citizen of Edinburgh by William Chambers, that meant the dog actually had the right to vote in an election before you would, ma'am. Sorry about that. So the story is that Bobby, or one of them, is buried here in what's effectively unconsecrated ground outside the front of the church.
Is there a relevance to the pineapple?
Absolutely none whatsoever.
I just wondered.
I know that in the Jewish faith people leave stones on top of a burnt. I have no idea what that's all about, but there we go. Right, okay.